All right, I'm here with Craig Goldberg. He is a certified vibroacoustic therapist, relaxation expert, and he's the founder of inHarmony. Guys, this is a technology that I'm really excited about. I got a chance to use it recently, but here's the bottom line. He is on a mission to help others step more easily into deeper meditation and lead a healthier and more mindful lifestyle. Craig, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. Thank you, Joel. Grateful to be here. Thank you for that wonderful intro. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, man. We were just talking offline. I think when you start to become more using meditation, and I just read this actually the other day, so you're gonna love this because your whole company is based on this idea of finding more mindfulness, finding more relaxation, finding more flow, and getting deeper into meditation. And I just read this in the book I Am That. He says meditation is the portal to the supreme. And so I think we are a lot of us busy professionals, entrepreneurs, go-getters. We are missing the mark. I know I have for a long time, and so I'm so grateful for your technology. And I got a chance to experience it recently in Vegas. I'll be ordering one soon, and so yeah, man. Just I think it's huge that you're here, and people need to hear this. Is what I wanted to tell you.
Warms my heart, brother. You know, meditation is certainly a sign of the times, right? A lot of people are talking about it now, and it can be a little intimidating for folks. And we'll certainly talk about my tech and the impact that sound and vibration has on relaxing the nervous system. But, you know, us A-type go-getters that you had mentioned that are go, 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 go. There's a book that I reference a lot, and it's escaping me right now, but it'll pop up. Power and Full Engagement. Bam. Though the Power of Full Engagement is about downtime is as important as uptime. And giving the body time to rest and cycle, to detox, to do the things that it needs to do to help itself be optimal and be in that optimal human performance. And meditation is the mind's ability to kind of calm and relax itself, to straighten up the desk, to organize itself so that it can charge forward. And for a lot of us, and I fall into this category, especially 6 years ago, before I was working with holistic health science and inHarmony Interactive, if you were like, Craig, I want you to sit in the corner and meditate, I would have laughed at you. Like, there's no way. That's not happening. I just sit down and I would think about all the things I should be doing, all the things I'm not doing, all the things I could be doing. And obviously that's not exactly the point of meditation. So our tech and inHarmony Interactive and the furniture that we create, the technology that we create, helps to guide your mind, body, and spirit into that meditative state through music and vibration. And it does so in a very efficient and effective manner such that you have a time limit, 11 minutes, 22 minutes, 33 minutes, right? Which gives the mind a framework for what this is going to be. And it just takes you, the music literally guides your body and mind straight into that meditative state so that you can just lose yourself in the music for 11 minutes and then you come out feeling refreshed and ready to rock and roll and charge the day.
Yeah. So good. Actually, I was wrong. I just looked at the quote. It's meditation is the portal to the infinite. So even better. Dude,
look, it's all inside, right? It's all inside. Prayer, religious backgrounds, all of it. It's all inside. And meditation gives you the ability to close your eyes, turn off the outside world, and focus within and focus on what you're feeling, what you're hearing, get in touch and in tune with your body. And start to focus that energy on you, which a lot of us don't spend time doing. Enough time, anyway.
Yeah. I was the same way several years ago. If you'd asked me to meditate, I thought you were stupid. Actually, I didn't think that. I actually tried to meditate. I actually downloaded the app Headspace, and I made a valiant attempt. And I went going through life coaching certifications. There was an 8-week mindfulness program. I just felt like I did the program, but I'm like, I just still feel like I'm not getting a lot out of it. And I just thought, well, maybe meditation is not for me. Maybe my form of meditation is physical exercise, because I do think that's a therapeutic thing for me.
Absolutely.
You know, you're moving the lymph, you're shaking the body, you're getting some of those endorphins. So I thought, maybe I don't need it. And things come full circle, and now I'm back, and I think I was overlooking some things. And so anyways, it's part of the cycle. It's part of the evolution as that we go through.
So about 2 years ago in June of 2020, we did an Indiegogo campaign for our inHarmony meditation cushion, and had a successful raise. We were able to create a product from nothing and take it from a napkin, right, to the benefits of crowdsourcing. And then we just got that patented in the beginning of this year of 2023. We were just awarded a patent for it. So it's been a lot of fun to start to really get into that space. We've always been in that space in vibroacoustic therapy, which is vibration and sound, and the merger of its impact on our physiology and our body, which I've been studying for a long time. The meditation cushion is a smaller form factor and obviously focuses energy on the meditation world. And we serve two main audiences with that product. Folks like me that couldn't meditate, that needed something like a crutch, that needed something to train, to teach, to guide. Guided meditations on Headspace and Calm and Insight Timer. And those things are great, but I needed something even more engaging than listening to somebody's voice. And that's what Vibroacoustic does for me. The vibration, the sound, the harmonization of this full body experience, it drops me into state super fast. So for the first audience of somebody that couldn't meditate, now all of a sudden I give you one simple directive when you're sitting on the cushion, and that is lose yourself in the music for the next 11 minutes and just start there. And 11 minutes goes by in a heartbeat because you're dropped into that alpha and theta brainwave state. The second audience that we serve is the folks that have been meditating 20 minutes a day for 20 years and already have that practice and are looking for something to amplify, to change it up a little bit, to give them a little bit more of an edge. And frankly, a lot of folks in that world buy our meditation cushion strictly because of the form factor, the ergonomics and the design of it. But when they do their first music meditation, they're taken deeper, faster, and sometimes to that point that they need to get to, and sometimes they're taken even deeper, not knowing that they weren't going as deep as they could. They like unlock another level. And by the way, there's always another level to unlock for all of us constantly. So they kind of just up level. And I get the text message like, hey man, I didn't know how deep I could go. I didn't know I wasn't going as deep as I could go. So this meditation cushion has really had a profound impact on the meditation world. And I think this is really important because I get this flack a lot, especially in comments online. And I'm probably going to get some flack from my business partner for saying this. You don't need my tech to meditate. I want to be very clear. You need to sit in the corner and quiet your mind. And if that's enough for you, bless your beautiful soul. I think that's fantastic. Go sit underneath the tree, get the feet in the dirt, ground in the grass, whatever it is. But for those of us that need a little bit of extra oomph, that need a little bit more entertainment, that's where we come in.
Love it. You're 100% right. And people don't need ayahuasca either to see this inner profound peace. They don't need that to release trapped emotions, but people do it. And so it's just another form of doing it. And, speaking of just getting lost in the music, we were at Dave Meltzer's studios in Las Vegas doing some podcasting, and there was a lot of people there, and you had brought your cushion, the meditation cushion, as well as the bed that you have, and we'll talk about the various products. But I was sitting there in a group of loud people talking in the backstage area, and
probably 35 people in that waiting room.
Yeah, and you put the headphones on, cranked up that vibration, and I had no idea. You were like, oh man, thanks. People were walking by you, like waving at you. You had no idea. I'm like, yeah, my eyes were closed. I couldn't hear anything. I was just dropped into that state, and it was wonderful. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. People have, you're just in it. So it's nice.
I think I have a picture of you sitting on the cushion. If so, I'll send it to you. You can splice it into the video.
Yeah, please. So really quick, before we jump in, because I want people to know you've already kind of talked a little bit about what vibroacoustic therapy is. I want to talk about it a little bit deeper, because when we were talking that day, you're like, Joel, you don't understand. Like it's the inner ear bones and the cochlea. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. But besides that, before we even go there, I want to just go back a step and ask you call yourself a relaxation expert. Like, how, again, 2 years ago you weren't this way, or however many years ago you weren't this way. So what got you here? What got you to here and then creating this company?
Yeah, totally. I appreciate that. So I turned 44 in May, right? We're recording this in March. So in a couple months, it's my 44th birthday. And I've been working full time since I'm 19. So without getting into too much of the details, I've been go. I went to school at night, college at night, while I worked 12-hour days, selling telecom door to door in New York City back in the late 1990s. And early 2000s during the dot-com boom. And I only really knew one speed. That sales job, that role that I had, I was working with some of the most incredible go-getters. They were 25, 30, 35, and here I am, 19 years old. And I was one of the top performers in that company. And what that entire series of life kind of taught me was you're on. New York City, if you've ever been to New York City, like, the town just goes, right? It's just built on coffee and alcohol and having a good time and just it's yeah, sure, let's do that. Everything's so convenient and so easy and you just go 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 go. And that's pretty much been my pace of life. And at some point, I was like, man, I gotta slow down. Really, at some point in the last 10 years, I could tell you, my wife got sick. Doc after doc, nobody could tell us what was wrong. In the end, it wound up being gluten. Up until about 10, 11 years ago, this was 2012, 2013, I was pretty much on cruise control. Life was good. I was working hard. I was playing hard. I was pretty much saying yes to everything. I was the weekend warrior working out and running. I ran the Ragnar relay race twice, which was just absolutely bananas. It's a 200
I have no idea what that
relay
is.
race.
Yeah.
It's a 200-mile relay race that you run with 11 of your closest friends, 2 vans. There's always somebody running. It took us about 30, 35 hours to finish it. And I don't know why I did it 2 years in a row, but the next year they were like, we're doing it again. And I was like, okay, cool. No. So like, at some point I was like, I got to start to slow down. So my wife gets sick. In the end, it wound up being gluten. And we removed gluten from her diet. And of course, we eat from the same kitchen. So I removed gluten from my diet. Over the next 6 months, she gets better and I get worse. And I can't figure out why. I'm Googling, I'm doing all this research on gluten sensitivity in the immune system. And I learned about genetically modified organisms and how they've been genetically modifying our food. I looked into the detail of that. I got horrified. I was horrified at what I read. So now all of a sudden, conventional food is out, organic is in, and we start to make these changes. My wife starts to learn about parabens and all these different things that are included in the makeup and the lotions and the potions that she wears. So now all of a sudden, deodorant is out because it's got really bad stuff in it. This is 10 years ago, and we didn't have all the great products we have today. Right. Perfume was out, cologne was out, and all of a sudden we're making all these different changes. We found essential oils. We start traveling the country teaching about the efficacy of essential oils. And I discovered sound healing. I discovered laying in front of an acoustic instrument, a sound bowl, bells, chimes, gongs, didgeridoos, all these incredible instruments. And I found that I absolutely love it. I didn't know anything that I know now. I just knew I lay down in front of these bowls, this angel strikes it, I wake up 45 minutes later and I feel rejuvenated and I feel amazing. And I wanted that on tap. I wanted to be able to feel that deep relaxation, that feeling when those frequencies are flowing through my body. It's just an instant release of stress. Now, I know now that it's resetting my nervous system from sympathetic, associated with fight or flight or stress and anxiety, to parasympathetic, associated with cool, calm, and collected, calm and relaxed. And those chemical cascades associated with that, I became a junkie for. Like, I wanted that more and more and more and more. And I didn't want to have to play the instruments myself. In fact, I found when I was playing the bowls, I didn't feel that same sense of relaxation because my mind was still focused on something it needed to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had this nice little research kind of where I was trying to figure out how to do it with my home stereo system. I bought a gong CD and I was cranking it with all my speakers surrounding me. And I was using the wrong technology. About 3-4 months after I was trying to recreate it myself, I get a phone call from my now business partner, Dom, and he says, hey, I got something I think you need to check out. And it was my first Sound Lounge experience. And just like you, I didn't know what it was. I walked into my buddy's office and I was like, what is it? He was like, lay down, put on the headphones, check this out. And I was blown away. Like, just like you, that first experience of feeling the stress and the weight lifted off my shoulders and my chest. And for 15 minutes, I just blissed out. And I came back and I went, I got questions. I need to know how this works. I need to know what's going on. I need to know where I can get one. I need to know how many you have. And they were like, just we'll answer all your questions. We'll get everything going. And that became the partnership that's now more than 6 years old. And this love affair that I have with, now we call it biohacking, optimal human performance and optimization and all these amazing things. But ultimately, I wanted to get the most out of this mind, body, and spirit. I wanted to be able to charge life, be able to say yes to everything. And I wanted this physical body to be the limiting factor. And obviously I can train this physical body to do a lot of incredible things. So I became a student of what it takes to perform the best that I can possibly perform. And along the way, I've been teaching people about it, just like you, Joel. It's one of the things that I really admire about you and so many of us that are on this path of learning and then teaching, learning, and then teaching. And it's all through figuring it out ourselves. Like, hey, here's what's worked for me, and it can work for you too. There's a saying that I really like, and that is, the student need be but one lesson ahead of the student. The teacher need be but one lesson ahead of the student. And I feel like a lot of us in the coaching world, the guide and the teaching world, we're just kind of figuring this stuff out and being like, hey, this worked for me and it worked really well. And we kind of get to be at that tip of the spear of what's working. And it's a really exciting time.
Yeah. So good. I love that. I remember too, when I just went through my first life coaching cert, back maybe like 8 years ago. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, like I'm learning this stuff now, like 32 years old, but people are so like unaware of this idea of presence, and just no one's even talking about it. And like you said, I was considered an expert. I was just a step ahead of people. And so now I could actually pass that along. And when you learn these things, you just want to pass it along because you want everyone to benefit. So it's really neat.
Look, being present is something that's such a challenge. You know, it's interesting. There is a little bit of a paradox in just the conversation that we were having before this call started, talking about presence and being present and letting go of the distractions and becoming more focused. And it got me thinking actually about my tech and the impact that it has on our physiology and the hormones that are flowing through the body. So the main activation, if you will, there's many different benefits of our technology, but the biggest is obviously resetting the nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic, from stressed and anxious to calm and relaxed. And when you're in a sympathetic nervous system response, there's a series of things that happens to the body. The first thing, and by the way, shifting from calm and relaxed to stressed and anxious is an involuntary decision. It's not something that we're conscious of. It can be, but it's basically focused on what your nervous system is interacting and perceiving as a threat. Whether it's a physical threat of your spidey sense going off that you're not in a safe place, or it's an emotional threat or a financial threat of an email from a boss that says, hey, we're downsizing our organization, more announcements on Friday. And you're like, downsizing our organization? Like, that's a threat to your well-being, and your body will react to that, and it will take you into a sympathetic nervous system response. So when you're in a sympathetic nervous system response, cortisol and adrenaline flow through your blood. That's the first trigger. And that cortisol makes you super present. This is the paradox that I thought was really, really interesting. That cortisol flowing through your blood makes you super present and focused on whatever is in front of you to a point where you don't see anything else that's going on. You become hyper-focused on the issue, and that's the downside to it. And then, of course, adrenaline flows through your blood, basically shifting power and strength to the major muscle groups of the body. Great for a short-term hit of power to protect yourself so that you can fight or you can run. Unfortunately, if you get an email on Tuesday that says we're downsizing, more to follow on Friday, for you to sit in a sympathetic nervous system response from Tuesday to Friday is detrimental to your health. For the things that happen once that cortisol and adrenaline are flowing through your blood, your nervous system downregulates your immune system. It downregulates digestion. It turns off your reproductive organs, and it focuses all of your energy, all hands on deck, to protect what is an imminent threat. And if that imminent threat doesn't come for days, weeks, or months, or never goes away, you can see how ill-equipped you are to handle the day-to-day. And now all of a sudden, a rational thought is turned off also. That's my favorite one. So you're making decisions, but you're not being rational when that adrenaline and cortisol is flowing through your blood. If this is 2-3 hours in the afternoon because you're dealing with something and focusing on something, that's great. But as it starts to stretch out day after day, you can start to see how this can be really detrimental. And all of a sudden, you use up that ability to focus. And now you can't focus. You are distracted. You are feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling all the things that so many of us, myself included, feel day to day. And giving yourself that break and that reset on the sound lounge, the meditation cushion, the practitioner, becomes that siesta that we all crave, especially here in the United States. I think we hear about our friends across the pond in Europe that are like, they shut everything down from 12 to 3? That sounds amazing. What do? They drink wine, they have a big lunch, they take a nap, and then they go back to work. I'm like, wow, that sounds dreamy.
And you too could do it. Just get yourself an inHarmony mat, and you can do the same thing.
That's right. Just take a siesta. Look, we got sessions that range from 2 minutes to 2 hours, and I highly recommend laying on it for 2 hours if you can find that time and carve it out for yourself.
So amazing. Two things you said now I got to tell you. So one is my wife was having issues with her cycle just recently. and we had a Dutch test ran, which anybody that doesn't know what a Dutch test is, it measures your hormones, and it's taking saliva to actually measure cortisol throughout the day, because usually that's a typical thing to see women's hormones go off. I think a Dutch test is great. And lo and behold, Craig, guess what we found out? Now, she's 42 years old. We found out that you're stressed all day. Your cortisol spikes in the morning like it's supposed to, but it ain't going down. So guess what? We started implementing. I started being also, investing in her by, hey, checking in more. Can I give you a break with the kids? Can you do a meditation? So all she's done is add meditation to her morning and a little bit of journaling and just those check-ins. And guess what? Her cycle has returned back to normal. No problem. So it's amazing what stress can do. And like you said, you keep getting these hits over and over again. And here's the thing, like my wife and I are very holistic. We get this stuff. We're in your product. We love these kind of stuff. But sometimes you can't see it. Even though you're in it, you're thinking, I'm not that stressed. And you need a stupid saliva test to tell you you are stressed. So you are so right. I got to just tell people, like, even you probably think, I'm built for this. I've been a police officer for 15 years. I'm just used to it, or whatever your story is. I guarantee you, you better go underneath the hood. You're probably not as, I don't want to say resilient. You are resilient, but you got to give yourself that break. And then the second thing you just mentioned about being overseas, when I was 21, I studied abroad in Italy for 3 months. And you are right. They did this thing called siesta, and it drove me nuts as an American who had Starbucks whenever I wanted, 24 hours a day. I was going bonkers because I would have a break in between my classes around 12 and 3, and I needed to go to stores during that time. I wanted to get things done, and I couldn't because they were closed. Yeah. And I fought that for 2 months, and then the third month, my last month there, I finally just let go. And I was like, this is beautiful. You don't even realize it. Like, do you know, like, you could chill right now. You could take that break.
Go lay underneath the tree because there's nothing else I could do.
That is correct. And I just embraced the lifestyle, and I felt myself so much more at ease and at peace. And then when I came back, I was probably living the Italian lifestyle for a couple of months before I finally was like, all right, it's back to America. Go, go, go. But you're so right. When you don't realize they're onto something. And in America, we're missing the boat on that siesta. It's so underrated.
Absolutely. Look, that Dutch test is absolutely incredible. I've done it also. Cortisol gets a bad rap, a really bad rap. Cortisol is really important, and it impacts your circadian rhythm. It wakes you up in the morning. We get a spike in the morning hours, and it's different for everybody when that spike comes in. But that spike of cortisol basically sets you up for success over the course of the day. Getting sunlight on your eyes as early in the day as possible is really important. Folks in the 5 a.m. club, obviously the sun's not out, but there are things that you can do. I've got a red light that's not plugged in. Otherwise, I would have been covered in red light right now. But I've got a red light that sits right here on my desk. And if I'm up early, I'm pounding myself with that in the morning. And then I'm opening up the blinds and I'm getting that sunlight, not through windows. Windows actually cuts back on a lot of the UV that you actually need in your eyes to wake yourself up and get that spike in cortisol. And you hit the nail on the head. Look, these amazing women that we are surrounded by, you and I can't talk for everybody, but I can certainly talk for my wife. And the more I get to know you, Joel, and your family and what you've got going on, they put an unbelievable amount of pressure on themselves to be perfect. And there's a variety, I think, of different reasons why. My wife is a Pisces. Her birthday just passed. She's very particular about a lot of different things in her beautiful way. Bless her beautiful heart. And with our daughter gets the best of her. I have a 3-year-old, and I see it all the time. And last night, we spent a good 45 minutes to an hour in our healing room at the end of the night. My wife did a sound lounge session. I got in the sauna. We had our infrared mat going, and it was just some time for us to relax before our daughter went to bed. She was literally bonkers. She was jumping. She was literally running laps around our house last night. And me and my wife were just like, do whatever you want, Harmony. Just go do your thing. And we were just sitting back. I'm in my sauna up to my neck, and I'm just getting a good sweat on. And my wife is laying down on the sound lounge, and my daughter is literally just running around in circles. So sometimes you got to just let them go, and you got to give yourself that time and detach from what's going on, and give yourself a break that it's all going to get done, or what's going to get done is going to get done, and not put so much pressure on ourselves so that we can be present, be stronger, and manage the hormones and everything that gets triggered from that circadian rhythm of getting a good night's sleep, which I didn't get last night. We were just talking about like all the different basic blocking and tackling. The human body is exceptionally resilient. And the last thing that you touched on, especially our frontline responders, first responders, whether it's the military, whether it's firefighter, whether it's police, they are conditioned through training to deal with and be calm in situations that would otherwise put a civilian through the ringer. I mean, in a very major way.
Yep.
And not only are you conditioned through the training, but it becomes routine. To that highway patrolman that's constantly showing up to either pull people over, which is a stressful situation. You don't know what you're walking up on, or worse, coming up on accidents, multiple car pileups with injuries and being needed. It becomes so routine that you don't process what you saw until you do.
Yeah.
And I work with a lot of guys and gals on the front lines, and when it comes down to time to kind of sit in it and look back on it and reflect, that's when it all starts to catch up, and it turns into chronic PTSD, treatment-resistant PTSD, treatment-resistant depression, treatment-resistant, because they're just trying so many different things. And that's where our technology really shines, along with psychedelic medicine or therapy in some cases. I mean, everybody's a little different. Everybody needs a little something, but there are so many different things that are starting to perk up through the research that can really start to make ends meet. And I know that's very important and near and dear to your heart, and it's certainly an audience that you serve.
Yeah. Let's get into the science, brother. You've touched on it, vibroacoustics, but maybe people are still like, what does that mean? And you can maybe talk about just how vibrational therapy, how it's affecting the cells, right? Like I have a vibration platform, and I think about, why do I get on a vibration platform? Well, it moves lymph. It creates this piezoelectric effect. Maybe you can even touch on that with the vibration. Yeah. And then also the combination of binaural beats and why all of these are beautiful things and can put us in that parasympathetic state that we so desire.
Man, you just touched on so many different things. All right, so I'm gonna kick it from the top. So first of all, what is vibroacoustic therapy? It's a fancy word, vibration, acoustic, and sound. So that vibration plate that you have is a mechanical vibration. It's going left and right with a specific frequency, not very different and different at the same time. We do everything through audio signals, through sound and vibration. This is something called a tactile transducer. It's made specifically for us. If you've connected speaker cable or a sound system in your car or an old school home stereo system, everything's Bluetooth and wireless now. But back in the day, you remember these terminals. One's red, one's black, and you connect speaker cable into it. That's our technology. This tactile transducer is basically what's behind. I say this a lot, and my business partner doesn't like it, but it's a fancy word for half of a speaker. If you've seen a sound system in a car, and you've seen a 10-inch, 12, 18, 15-inch, 18-inch, right? You're looking at a sub. We see the cone. The cone is moving in and out. Mm-hmm. Behind that cone is a magnet. That magnet's usually 2 or 3 inches. Obviously, this is 4.5 inches, so it's much bigger. And there's a magnet in here that oscillates. Certain number of oscillations per second is a frequency. So a 20 hertz frequency is 20 oscillations. Now, what we usually see is that cone. What most people don't realize, and this was where we kind of started to geek out on the science, is that our hearing is 30% of our hearing is through our eyes. The hearing itself, really interesting. It's actually changes in pressure. It's that create vibrations on the cochlea of the ear, which goes through the auditory nerve, which then goes back to the brain. And it's coupled with your eyes that hear my voice through the changes in pressure, see my lips moving, focus your attention on me, which is why you usually look at whatever you're talking to, because you're telling your brain to focus the energy on what Craig is saying or Joel is saying right now. And your brain in real time puts all of this together to tell you that Craig is speaking English. Here are his words. Here's the meaning that I'm pulling from his words. And here's what I need to know about his words from a reading comprehension or a listening comprehensive perspective. And then you're thinking in real time of what you can say. But ultimately, my larynx and my voice box is being amplified by my voice, is hitting every air molecule and colliding it one to another until it hits the microphone, then hits the speaker, then that speaker is vibrating it until it hits your ear. I mean, it's really remarkable when you start to geek out on the science of how we hear. Now, there's another layer to that, and that is the mechanoreceptors that are in your skin. So all over your skin, we feel changes in pressure as I'm touching my skin. That's a bunch of mechanoreceptors that are sending a signal to my brain that's saying there's changes in pressure on my arm. Now, if I were touching your arm right now, whoever's listening to this, you would in real time recognize a change in pressure on your arm and immediately think, because your eyes see Craig is touching your arm, Craig is touching my arm. That's what's happening. Change in breeze, they're so sensitive that even just this changes the pressure in my arm, moving up my arm. My brain in real time might look around and see that there's like a tree moving or waving, and in real time go, oh, a breeze must have just come by. That's a breeze on my arm. It's warm or it's cold, and that signifies something on the weather. Again, all of this is happening in fractions of a second. It's how powerful our brain is at processing what is ultimately billions of stimuli per second. And then your brain is filtering most of that out and giving you all of the relevant data. My favorite version of this is we all have these mechanoreceptors. They're all over our skin. And right now, you don't feel your clothing until I just said, feel your clothing. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, yeah, I do feel my clothing, right? Like all of a sudden I feel my pants on my legs, which I didn't feel a second ago until I even thought, feel your clothing. And then all of a sudden the brain, the reticular activator system of the brain actually opens up that filter and goes, no, we do feel our clothes. Here, feel your clothes, right? It's really a remarkable system that we've co-created. Now, the magic of our technology.
Craig, I want to just interrupt really quickly.
Please.
Just on mechanoreceptors, just to highlight the importance of what you're saying. I do an electric stim therapy with the NewFit technology, and one of the things I learned from Garrett Salpeter, the founder, it's an amazing, remarkable DC electric current, and he talks a lot about mechanoreceptors, but just one thing to highlight is, like you said, these mechanoreceptors are on our skin, and guess what? They are looking for what's wrong and what's not. They're protecting you, believe it or not. And so when you think about people that use therapies such as KT tape, for example, guys, or they use scraping tools to scrape, those mechanoreceptors are picking up on that stimuli, and they're actually going to the brain, and they're telling the brain, is this safe or not? And that can be a powerful stimuli to put you in, again, that parasympathetic state, the rest and relax, versus you being in a stressed out state. So it's so crucial, what you said. I love it.
I appreciate that. Look, there's a concept called hormesis. Have you spoken about hormesis on the show?
Yeah, but talk more about it.
All right. So hormesis is basically mild stimuli that triggers, and that's basically what we're doing with sound and vibration. We're using sound and vibration to shake every cell in your body. That's going to send triggers to the brain that's like, what is happening right now? And then it's the chemical cascade that the brain releases to calm the nervous system that triggers those chemical cascades that bring you into parasympathetic. So that scraping, even like dry brushing, right? Or cold therapy is one of my favorites. Like, it's funny. Like, if you do it enough, you can absolutely begin to like it. But most people don't like cold therapy. Like, I get in my sauna, and after 15 minutes in my sauna, I'm dripping in sweat, and my head is itchy. I'm literally just covered in sweat, and I'm like, this is really uncomfortable. I think of plant medicine. I've sat ayahuasca. I've done combo. They're just very uncomfortable situations, and you have to think this too shall pass. And through that, which is the concept of hormesis, look, working out and going to the gym, you're tearing the muscle, it's rebuilding stronger. So the concept of hormesis is a little bit of stress is good for the body, and that's what builds it up. The example that I like to give is, Joel, you're old enough to remember the biodome that they created?
Yeah.
Right? So they've had a bunch of different biodomes that they've created. The first one failed miserably, and the reason that it failed is because the trees didn't grow. They didn't grow tall. And the reason they didn't grow tall is because there was no wind. So they created this perfect environment, and they didn't have wind. So there was nothing to stress the tree so that it would grow stronger and stronger and taller and taller. And as soon as they introduced some circulation, just a mild breeze, it was enough for that tree to begin to grow strong and grow strong. And hormesis, that concept for me really summarizes hormesis for me. And so many aspects of biohacking, cold therapy, hot therapy, vibroacoustic therapy, a lot of the physiologic effects that we have, the stimuli that we bring, especially when it comes to e-stim on the muscles, you're basically stressing the body and it reacts to that stressor. And it's very, very powerful on that front. So when you're laying on our technology, you are listening to the same frequencies that you're feeling. And this creates a three-dimensional, fully immersive sound experience where the brain kind of goes, I'm going to check out for a little while. You feel as though you're inside the music. Now, we have an app. We were talking about it before the call. We were talking about Anthony Weiss, our director of content creation, who creates music, and we're releasing a track a week at this point, focused on our technology and its impact. You can use our app. It's $8 a month, or you can actually listen to anything you want through our technology. So if you like hip hop, house music, reggae, it doesn't matter. Whatever music you like, whatever gets you going. There's folks that listen to heavy metal and even punk and some really aggressive death metal. It all sounds amazing through our tech. Again, whatever gets you going, you can listen to through our tech. And look, music moves us, right? So everybody I think can appreciate being at a concert, being in front of a stack of speakers that's playing music that they love, and what that does to their mind, body, and soul. It's a really beautiful thing. So we've basically created a delivery system for sound and frequency directly to your body that you can have in the comfort of your own home or your office or your business whenever you want.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
I love it too. And just one last thing too, having that cushion or the bed as it is, this, you are creating that intentionality around it. And I know a lot of people when they're meditating too, even just myself as a novice meditator, they'd say, create a room or create a cushion or have a chair or have something where you have that intentionality. Like, this is where I will meditate every day. And it's a great anchor. Your technology is a great anchor, I think, for that. So that's also another plus. So yeah, combination of binaural beats, vibration, and then the app continues to change weekly. You've got how many tracks now?
We have 135 that we made ourselves, and then we have another 140 that you'll find in BrainTap's app, because we've got a nice long partnership with them too. So we create music for the BrainTap headset, and it works hand in hand with our technology as well.
Amazing. So cool. Anything else? Did we miss anything else on technology? I mean, I don't know. Binaural beats, people don't understand that. The last thing I would say is the binaural beats are frequencies, again, that are putting you in certain states. So if you want to be in alpha state, you want to have that more awareness, but also relax and calmness. That could be an alpha state. Theta is, the way I think of theta is also relaxed, but maybe you want to help manifest things. I've heard both for alpha and theta, so I don't know. But delta would be sleep, and gamma. So that's binaural beats. Maybe you can just speak on that briefly.
So let's go through the different brainwave states, and then we can go through binaural beats and what that looks like. So I'm a pretty visual guy, so I think that there's 5 different brainwave states. We spend most of our time in beta, eyes open, processing the world around us, where you and I are right now, and that's where we're really the most stimulated from the outside world. Your eyes are open, you're processing the world around you, you're in a beta brainwave state. Many of us are stuck in a beta brainwave state. Above that is gamma. Gamma is associated with like 40, it's about 40 hertz and above. The measurements that we're using are through an EEG, an echoencephalograph. Basically looks like a swim cap. You put it on your head. It's got 19 points on it. Each one of those points is reading how fast the synapses in your brain, the electrical signals in your brain are firing. So when we talk about brainwave states, we're talking about how fast those synapses are firing. You've probably heard it, and your listeners have probably heard also, that we only use 10% of our brains. It's a little bit of a misnomer. There's dark matter, and there's a whole bunch that we've learned about the brain over time that we thought were dead space, so to speak. It's no longer dead space. That's one part of that conversation. The other part of that conversation is that at any one time, your entire brain isn't on and activated. A part of our brain is for memory recall. A part of our brain is for movement and body motion. A part of our brain is for senses. A part of our brain, right? So there's different parts of your brain that aren't necessarily firing at all times. What's really cool about music is that music harmonizes the brainwave patterns of the brain. And when you layer on top of that the physical aspects of it, you get this remarkable balance of beauty in the brain, and you do start to harmonize the brain into these different brainwave states. You activate parts of the brain and harmonize the way that they're firing. So beta, eyes open, processing the world around you. Gamma, above that, 40 hertz and above. Beta is basically 12 to 14 hertz up to about 40 hertz. Below that is an alpha brainwave state. Alpha is associated with creativity, begins there. Meditation begins there. This is where the brain starts to clean up its desk and starts to kind of run the detox protocols and kind of cleanse itself. Directly below that is a theta brainwave state. Theta is associated with 4 hertz to about 7.5 to 8 hertz. Alpha, by the way, is 8 hertz up to about 12, 14 hertz. And then below that is delta. Theta is where meditation and mindfulness rejuvenation really happens. It's where we are during rapid eye movement sleep. It's where we are during any type of dream or any time of projection, astral projection that we have, or out of body experience. We're typically in a theta brainwave state. And then beneath that is delta. If you ever tried to move a friend and it's like moving dead weight, like they're just out cold sleeping, they're probably experiencing a delta brainwave state. This can be induced by alcohol and other substances, right? But generally speaking, in a delta brainwave state, that's where cellular rejuvenation happens. In a delta brainwave state, your motor skills are turned off and your senses are turned off. So you're basically dark to the outside world and you're inside your own world, which is why it's like moving dead weight. And sometimes you might like wake up someplace else, like your friends moved you and you didn't even know. It's because your senses were turned off and that sort of thing. So we're designed to move in and out of these brainwave states on a regular basis throughout the day. That power nap that you take, you're typically moving into an alpha or theta brainwave state, maybe not down into delta, and then back up into beta. Sleep, you mentioned sleep. Sleep is a really interesting thing. It's nothing more than a perception of our conscious mind moving into a deeper brainwave state. This is really interesting because people come and they ask me all the time, like, hey, will this help me sleep? And it's like, well, do you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep? Yeah, we can help with that. If you have like a 3-year-old, like I do, that runs into your room screaming, that's not, I can't help with that, right? Or a dog or a pet, or something like that. That's like, I want to go outside or I need food, right? I can't help with that. But we can help to retrain your brain to move from beta into alpha, alpha into theta, theta into delta, delta into theta, right? Moving in and out of these different brainwave states more efficiently is something that we can get really, really good at. You also mentioned binaural beats. We have a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere. The right side of our body controlled by the left hemisphere, the left side of our body controlled by the right hemisphere. Binaural beats are typically best deployed through headphones, and it is one frequency in the left ear, a different frequency that's no more than 10 hertz difference in the right ear. The brain creates a third harmonic frequency between those two, and binaural beats begin to bridge the two hemispheres together and get the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere communicating more efficiently and more effectively in a very beautiful way. We don't use binaural beats in all of our tracks, but some of our tracks do have binaural beats that are worked into it. There's isochronic tones. There's a number of different things that BrainTap does. It's a great time to plug BrainTap. I love the company. I love what they do. Our technology harmonizes really well with it because they have a headset with lights. Boom, you got it.
If you're watching a video, I'm showing mine. I love this thing. It's great.
Love BrainTap. Love Dr. Patrick Porter, Michael, the whole crew over there. They are absolutely incredible. And if you're interested, you probably talk to Joel about getting a headset, and then you can use the inHarmony tech. The two of them, you just plug the inHarmony tech into the BrainTap headset or vice versa, and you'll find tracks in the BrainTap app that actually drive both the cushion and the headset at the same time for alpha, theta, delta, gamma, or SMR brainwave state. So there's some really powerful stuff. I'm a big fan of BrainTap and its merger with our technology. It's really a 1 + 1 = 3 kind of environment.
Yeah, very cool. I want to wrap things up, but I wanted to ask you, and then I'll ask you some final round questions that I ask all my guests. But I was going to ask you, any exciting projects or anything else that you guys got on the horizon?
So for me, it's constantly innovating and building this community. I am comfortably overwhelmed with everything that's been happening for our brand of late. We are majorly focused on production. We just placed our largest order yet, and I'm getting ready to place another order that's 2.5 times the size of the largest order that I just placed. So very much focused on production, keeping up with the demand, which is brilliant and beautiful. New music is a big deal for us. We are investing heavily in content creation and app development so that we can continue to get those things going. And for me, it's getting out and about and talking to as many people as I can, because finally my big mouth can't outpace production. So it's been really beautiful and brilliant to watch what's happening in the world around us, to see so many people gravitating towards the preventative side of maintaining this mind, body, and spirit. and so much demand in this space. It's been something really beautiful, and I'm super grateful to be here and super grateful to have a chance to speak with your audience.
Yeah, brother.
Thank you, Joel.
Anything I didn't ask you also that you were thinking about that you wish I had? There's so much we could talk
Joel,
about.
I feel like you and I could talk for hours.
We could.
There's nothing that's
I can always
kind of
bring
top
you
of
back on
mind.
for part 2.
If there's something that somebody's digging into in the comments and we're like, oh, we need to come back and talk about that, I'm super game. And always a pleasure to be here, Joel. No, nothing that I can think of.
One quick question on my mind, and then we'll go into these final round questions. You know, you talked about PTSD and working with first responders and the entrepreneurs. Are there any testimonials or anything that just sticks out on you, and where someone used your tech and they were like, "Dude, I had this going on for you. I didn't tell you," or maybe they did tell you, and I am surprised how well it worked, or just the effects.
So I get those text messages all the time that folks, what's happening now that wasn't happening. So we've been building this business just over 6 years. November of 2016 is when we created our first sound lounge. And the first 4 years of this business were basically built at events. So I basically knew all of the people that bought our tech because they had met me and had an experience. Then we started building out our affiliate network, and now all of a sudden we're referring people to affiliates all over the country. And that was a big growth spurt for us. Now we're getting so good at storytelling online, and so many people I think are interested in vibroacoustic therapy, vibration therapy. They're experiencing more and more. We're starting to see this hockey stick of interest start to flow. And now we have people that are buying it sight unseen. We have a 30-day money-back guarantee. I don't want anybody to have my tech that doesn't like it. We have a very low return rate. But I get these text messages a lot of like, I am blown away at the experience that I just had. First responders, this kind of warms my heart. Those folks that are in the military, folks that are retired from the military, folks that have been working on the front lines for a long time. We used to make tech, our practitioner mattress used to actually come with the amplifier in a Pelican case. And the reason it came in a Pelican case is so that it could be taken to the front lines to deal with first responders right off the bat. So We've got a number of testimonials of folks that literally are frazzled from fighting a forest fire for hours on end and need to rejuvenate. Those different brainwave states that we talked about, the brain really craves being in a theta brainwave state. 20 minutes in theta on our tech is equivalent to about 6 hours of sleep. Whoa. So you can restore and rejuvenate the body in a very powerful way simply by taking it into and out of specific brainwave states in specific patterns. It's one of the reasons why I love brain taps so much, is because it really holds your brain in that space. We've got a lot of testimonials. All of the testimonials that are on my website are authentic. All we do is ask 2 weeks after you receive your product is, hey, if you like it, testimonials go a long way. Please share your experience. So you'll find 5-star reviews on our website. There's 1 4-star review. There's 1 1-star review. We post everything. So those are all authentic and actual, testimonials of our product and our tech.
Yeah, brother. Love it. All right, let's jump into some final round questions. We'll wrap it up and let people know where they can connect with you and find out more about you and what you guys are up to. I'm curious, man, like what are some choices that you think you made, or a choice that you made that you think made you who you are today?
What a broad question that I wasn't prepared for.
I know.
Let's see. I think, and this will harmonize perfectly with what you teach, and that was deciding that I'm going to come first. And not in a selfish way, sort of in a selfish way, but to say my own personal well-being is going to allow me to show up better for everybody else that's in my life, including my wife, including my daughter, and obviously the altruistic standing that I take, obviously with those two humans, let alone my family, my friends, and anybody else. I am very quick to show up for anybody that needs my help, and everybody knows, get my attention and ask, and I'm pretty much there. I'll move heaven and earth to help a friend or a family member. And at some point, and I still do that, but at some point I started setting boundaries and creating opportunities for me to work on myself first. My cup needs to be overflowing before I can work with and help somebody else with their cup overflowing. That goes for my daughter as well. When I'm running myself ragged, I don't show up as a good father. When I'm running myself ragged, I don't show up as a good husband. So deciding that I matter and that I need to take care of myself first so that I can stand strong and powerfully and show up for those around me first, I think it was probably one of the most influential, because that helped me to get better sleep. It helped me to make better decisions when it comes to eating and supplementation and creating these safe boundaries that I can share with people. Like, hey, yeah, I can't do that on Tuesday at 6 o'clock, but I could do it on Thursday, and just telling people what I can do and when I can do it and setting those boundaries made a huge difference in everything.
Yep. Yep. You can't save everybody else unless you're taking care of yourself, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing so much in the health and wellness world. I'm just curious, like, who inspires you today?
You inspire me, Joe. That's for sure. David Meltzer, where we met, right? I mean, look, Andrew Huberman, Peter Attia, David Sinclair, right? Like, so many folks. Look, Tim Ferriss is probably one of the OGs. Dave Asprey. Like, these are folks that have pushed the limits and tested themselves and now want to talk about it and share it. And look, there's a lot of other folks that are doing these things on a smaller scale, but these are some of the folks that I follow. Aubrey Marcus, I follow on a regular basis, right? Like, we have such access to these incredible humans through social media, and really all of them are managing their own DMs. So, like, you can easily trade texts and trade messages with just about anybody who inspires you. Ben Greenfield is high up on that list, right? Like these are folks that are pushing the envelope. Dr. John Lawrence down in Sarasota and South Florida. There are folks that are doing so much research and breaking the norm. I see a lot, especially on social media, Instagram predominantly, TikTok. People want to hate in the comments like, oh, you're not doing your research. Like, trust me, these people are constantly doing research. They are scientists through and through. They have a hypothesis. They test it, often on themselves first. Some things work, some things don't. And they share with you what didn't work and what could work and what will work and what did work. And it's such an exciting time. I mean, look, you're in your home up in Idaho. I'm down in Las Vegas. And with the right camera, the right microphone, and Riverside and this incredible technology that we have at our fingertips, we're able to share these types of conversations with hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people, and get the message out. It's such a wild time. David Avocado Wolf comes to mind. Dr. Group comes to mind. Again, even as I'm just thinking about all the people that I follow and listen to on a regular basis, Vishen, I'm reading his six-step meditation right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm constantly soaking up information and constantly looking for new folks. And of course, the Instagram algorithm and the feeds of TikTok are constantly presenting me with new people that you might like as well. So it's really an exciting time on that front.
Yeah, man. Couldn't agree more. You mentioned books. I'm a huge reader. Is there like a top 1 to 3 books that stand out for you that had changed your life or that had a huge impact and you'd recommend people need to go out and read them?
I'll show you. I'll tell you, if you're in a relationship, there's 2 books that I think are because I've been investing a lot of time and energy into the relationship with my wife. I'm with my wife 15 years. We have a 3-year-old, and there's nothing like a 3-year-old to tear apart the relationship itself. So we've been pouring a lot of time and energy into our relationship. The first is 5 Love Languages.
Huge.
Understand how you and the people around you feel and interpret love. That is tremendous because then you get to meet people where they are and what they're looking for. And then the second one I haven't cracked yet, but it's called 8 Dates. And it's basically an opportunity for you to rebuild your relationship through 8 specific dates and a date night every week over 8 weeks. So
Love
that's
that.
one that I'm really excited to crack and dive into.
I gotta check that one out. Okay, cool. Last 2 questions. We'll wrap it up. Any rituals or hacks or practices that you do like on a regular basis?
You know what's really interesting? So I love this question. So look, I love routines. I love routines, morning routines, evening routines. My latest evening routine, which I probably get to do 3, sometimes 4 days a week if I'm lucky. Sometimes it's 1 or 2, but I like to do a quick workout. I just fatigue my muscles, as many push-ups as I can do in one, as many pull-ups as I can do, as many crunches and leg lifts, as many squats as I can do. So I'm kind of burning out the major muscle groups of the body, hopping in my sauna for 15 minutes, then taking a nice cold shower if I can and I feel up to it. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's hot, and I just continue on that. And then wrapping up with a sound lounge and then getting into bed and cuddling with my wife and getting some connection and human touch. It's one of my favorite evening routines. My morning routine is one that has been shattered lately. just with my daughter's changing schedule and this beautiful daylight savings time that just completely cripples a morning schedule.
That wasn't necessary. When daylight savings came, I had to catch a flight that day. I had no idea. I planned my flight. I'm like, why is this happening? This doesn't need to happen. This is
my
dumb.
daughter can't even tell time yet. She doesn't know like so she's just in our room now an hour earlier than she was, which just robs me of an hour's sleep. Anyway, it's still going, so I'm still feeling that. My morning routine is actually a little different than everybody else, and I actually picked this up. The first thing that I do is look at my phone, and this is contrary to what most people will tell you. Don't look at your phone for 30 minutes when you wake up. So it's something that I like to share. I've got an amazing team that's around me at inHarmony. We have 4 different marketing agencies that help us do what we do. We've got teams that help us with manufacturing, production. Some of them are overseas. App development is overseas. So for me, and the way that I manage stress is to make sure that everybody has what they need to do so that they can go do what they're doing while I'm doing what I need to do. So for me, cracking open my phone and just checking in specifically with the inHarmony crew to see if anybody needs anything from me from the night before. If anybody's like, hey, I need you to approve a wire, or I need you to, sometimes my app developers will say, hey, Craig, we need you to take a look at this build and take a look at this feature really quickly, right? Like these little things that I can knock out inside of a 15 or 20 minute check-in, for me, it allows me to then check out and go into my family morning routine of being there for my daughter and not worrying, dropping in with my wife, going through the schedule for the day, getting a workout in and stretch in and sometimes some cold therapy, whatever it might be. But for me, that check-in is really, really important. Now, sometimes I do get derailed and I have to sit in front of my computer for something that's much bigger. Other times I will set a time that afternoon and reorganize my day so that, hey, 10 a.m., I can address this and I can do it head on, because this is kind of my go time. This is like when I'm most on and most ready to rock and roll. So I try and prioritize that morning check-in. For me is really, really important to set everybody else on pace for what they're doing. And then I all of a sudden have a clear conscience and I can really drop into the me time of getting the family up and out and that sort of thing.
Yep.
So I think that's really an important note.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Thank God someone said something different than what everybody else says. I love it. Man, last but not least, Craig Goldberg, where can people find you, connect with you, learn more about inHarmony and everything you guys are up to?
So we're going to put a link down below. I want to offer your guests that are listening to this a free 90 days with our app. If you go to the App Store and you go to download our app, you'll get 14 days full feature trial. We're going to offer listeners of this 90 days. So you're going to get 3 full months. You got to give us your email address. We'll email you instructions. We'll set you up in the app with a 90-day discount code. And then we'll also offer 5% off all of our products just for listening and being a part of this ecosystem and being a part of what we're doing. So I'll give you that link. You and I will set up exactly what we want that to be, but it'll be our website /pages/ probably the name of the podcast, and we'll get that going. So we'll set all that up before we go on air. I manage all of our socials. So we're at inHarmony Interactive on just about everything. And I'm the guy that's commenting. I'm the guy in the messages. I oversee our support at and help at IamInHarmony.com email addresses. So our phone number's on our website. Like, if you have questions, reach out. I would love to talk with you. I'd love to connect with you. And I'd just love to hear your stories and see how we can help.
Yeah, brother. Craig, thanks for being on the show, brother. Love you, man.
I love you too, brother. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to round 2.
Yeah.